Hey, how's it going? So, I just have a spontaneous message to give, and it is about attachments and vibration and not taking stuff personally that is perhaps said to you or something in some way is affecting you as a result of something someone else said or did. And so I saw a few things yesterday. As is my daily practice, I'll watch a bunch of videos and read some things, and whatever it is, I'll upload to myself information. And I have spoken in my card reading videos about recently there have been deaths close to me, and not anyone directly related to me or anything like that, but still I am affected by it because I know those people and they're going through some stuff. And so I'm getting an education in attachment in real time, or in detachment, which is what one of those videos that I looked at yesterday was about. So there were three that the information in them just kind of sent me in the direction of having something to say. What the hell? Sorry about that. I don't want to sign in. Get out. Oh, shoot. So, I don't know what just happened there on that side of the screen, but some thing appeared, and when it doesn't matter, we're back. Anyway, I saw these last night, and I guess having slept on them, some thoughts came to mind, and really just that it's a lesson in real time on not having an attachment. Or one of the videos very helpfully talks about having the attachment and not getting rid of the attachment per se, but the way that you're attaching. Like, you can still have the attachment, but minus the obsession factor, And so here was my big epiphany this morning. In both cases, they're both very close to me personally in a way. One in a different way, more so. And okay, so here was the big the headline. Don't forget, you had your own life going the whole time before you even came upon either of these people. And so even though in a lot of ways you kind of depend on one, they're only one of many that could perform the same function, except for the personal part, where it's about how we get along and the relationship that has grown between us over the, gosh, I guess it's like 5 years now, going on 5 years, that this person has come to help me. And the other person, that's a whole different relationship, and it's relatively new in a way. It's got a lot of interesting components as to how it came to be, but nevertheless, it's, for me, new and interesting. And I, of course, I'm all excited about it. But then they've had this person very close to them die, and like I was saying before, like, I wish that I could comfort them, but they weren't reaching out to me for that. And so it's like, because it's new, and also because I'm trying to practice what I preach, as they say, and put what I've learned, like, I'm not just talking about it. Here's me putting it in practice, which I admit I am not the greatest at all the time. Like the breathing thing, I do it every day. I do it not stressed at all. I do it because it's good to get more oxygen, and it helps in so many ways other than just oxygenating your body. But I'm not great at employing it when I'm having like a really stressful situation, which I have been over and over. And I really need to put that into practice and stop just like talking about it, or put it into practice where it's in a stressful situation, which is why people are like, calm down, take a deep breath. And I tend to, once the, whatever the feeling is, the panic, the frustration, the fear, whatever it is, once that gets rolling, it is hard for me to focus on anything but that, and the suggestions will just I'll see them as they're flying past my consciousness, freaking the freak out. So it's not every situation, but I'm thinking of a particular one, and it's part of the attachment. So I have to remember that these people need their space to go through whatever they're going through the way they go through it, and I need to remember my life hasn't ended like just because these new features of relationships have entered my life. So I'm gonna link those videos I talked about into the information box, but I just felt like it was one of those things that was kind of important to bring up. And also, I might as well talk about it while I'm here, is I woke up kind of late because my schedule is an air quote kind of schedule. that's not really written in stone or anything anywhere. And that's actually fine with me, but I'm discovering that if I'm going to deal with other people in life, they're pretty much still adhering to schedules, so I'm having to recondition myself, because I spent years unconditioning myself from the attachment to having to keep a schedule. And it's done wonders for my stress level. Made it almost non-existent, although I can dream up some stuff and, like I was saying earlier, go flying off the deep end before I can even really get a grip on what's happening. Yes, I'm identifying right now in real time an issue I need to deal with. I'm not ashamed. So, I was watching The View before I started doing this. I know it's everybody's favorite show. I guess it does really well, but almost everyone I know hates it. Why do I like it? I like Joy Behar. I like Whoopi Goldberg. I like Anna. I can't remember her last name. Well, I like pretty much all of them, and I've been watching it for years, so it's kind of like people in their soap operas, I guess. And just like other talk shows, I'll watch, it doesn't have a monologue, but I'll watch it all the way up to where the guest appears, unless it's somebody I really like and want to hear about, because otherwise I don't care after that. So yeah, you needed to know that. Anyway, so one of the topics that they were talking about, which is probably, obviously, since that's the only part I really watch, the part that I like, that I'm interested in, they were talking about another Me Too situation, and it was Rudy Giuliani being drunk and lecherous, and in the situation that was described about Cassidy Hutchinson, who used to work for the Trump White House, recounting an incident that happened where he was lecherous and gross and touchy, and there was another gentleman in the room witnessing it, and rather than intervening and saying, listen, friend, to Giuliani, you're inebriated and this is inappropriate for you to be groping on this young woman like this. I mean, I don't know the age difference between Giuliani and Cassidy Hutchinson, but I feel like she could be his granddaughter or maybe great-granddaughter. So, I don't know. And they were at work too, and there's other stuff coming out about him and his former assistant, and there was some inappropriate stuff going on there too. But it made me think of, like, I had just seen, I think it was Joe Rogan Experience actually that I was watching, and who the heck was he talking to? I think Michael Imperioli. And they were talking about Harvey Weinstein, and of course Joe Rogan was not getting the part about why the assistant stayed and why people didn't say anything. And I feel like it's the same thing with Giuliani's former assistant that's now suing him, and that's why all of this absolutely ugly stuff is coming out about him. And it was heartening to see Megyn Kelly, I think it was, of all people, say to another one of these people that has like a YouTube sorry, the band YouTube, the Me Too situation happening, and she was like, I can't believe this is happening again. And then all these people that have no skin in the game, who weren't there to witness a dang thing, are coming out and going, he didn't do anything, the woman is terrible. And I'm like, yay, finally is someone that's talking about the actual trend of this thing that's happening and the way people are reacting. It's like Sunny Hostin on The View pointed out that sex crimes are unrelated, and what Giuliani did to Cassidy Hutchinson was absolutely assault and absolutely to his ex-assistant, and that girl had the forethought to record stuff. So these people just outside of the courtroom say all kinds of outlandish stuff to sway the public opinion, and then they go in the courtroom and all of a sudden they come out, in handcuffs. So it's like, see that trend as well. But the bigger trend is, we're talking about mostly men here, but it's not only men, but mostly men are in the position, and it's a traditional thing, and a lot of men will be like this. I think it was John Eastman Lech, standing by and just watching it go on and enjoying themselves. Like, women just exist for their gross pleasure, and it's like, no, ew, God, terrible generation. Sorry, but no, not at all, actually. Not at all sorry. And then so the Harvey Weinstein situation was sort of eye-opening. I wanted to squeeze them shut at the same time, and my ears, when I heard this, but the people that came out and the women that he assaulted and coerced and I think kind of sort of kidnapped, so he could have his sexual way with them, or try to. was a couple of them said something about the appearance of his wiener, and I thought they may have just been being sort of just nasty, because who could blame them? But on the Joe Rogan thing with Michael Imperioli, one of them came out with the fact that he's got some sort of... Did he pass away, Weinstein? I can't remember. I'll have to look. Ew. But he had some sort of like flesh-eating fungus on his wiener, and it was interesting because they mentioned this too in the conversation to me, but it made it make sense that he would say, "Come on, don't embarrass me." He was already embarrassed because he knew he had this gross moldy Twinkie in his pants, and then he like wanted these beautiful people to like join in his fantasy of them acting like it wasn't a gross Twinkie. That's what he didn't want to be embarrassed by. That was the main thing, because it was, I would imagine, would have been such a big weight on his mind and such a tearing down of his self-esteem. Like it would just, I would imagine, would be ruined, because I don't know, I don't have one, although I feel like I've have had past lives where I've had one. But do we not all know that the wiener's like a big deal to a guy? It's like their main thing. It's their driving force. It is their dowsing rod. So I don't have that same feeling about any of my body parts, but I have certainly noticed it about males. And that's not a put down, I'm just saying it is a thing. So yeah, it would be a big deal, and he would want to, I'm sure, I'm just speculating on this, but he would want to create a whole different scene in his mind and like rebuild his self-esteem, because that had to wreck it, to know that he had a wreck in his pants, you know. And the pathology of him wanting to like drag these people in here, here being an alone situation in isolation with this person, and then, you know, then it sounds like he was like exerting his male strength over them and not wanting to let them leave and forcing them to do stuff before he'd let them leave. And just like take all of what I just said there, I mean, if you can, and sit on that and think about it, like his mindset and where he was. And then also, you know, I started to, one of my famous trailings off that I'm actually going to finish, Rogan did say that, or he expressed his usual confusion about stuff. Well, why didn't they just leave? Why didn't they say anything? Well, what happened when they did say anything? That part you got to see. Does it occur to you that they might be humiliated by the experience and not want to recount that they allowed themselves to be lured into a situation where they were possibly actually coerced to do something with the gross Twinkie or just the gross man? And they, you know, we have ambitions too, and men have to go through stuff. I don't know if they have to go through the same stuff, like a casting couch situation. I'm sure in some cases that's true. I don't even know why I said that. I absolutely know that it's true. But we're talking about this Weinstein thing right now, or I am. There's nobody else here that you can see. Anyway, I feel bad for the guy, because just he obviously was already feeling bad, and he just had the worst way of dealing with it, and that's all mixed up in all of this societal male expectation stuff. And you know, I just have like a notion of what all of that's about, since, as I pointed out, I am no longer one at the moment, a male. So yeah. But Attachment City for Weinstein attached to an idea of, I would imagine at some point he didn't have this affliction on his wiener, and he would have had a past where, at least in Matt's situation, he felt better about himself. And I don't know that stopped him from being the overwhelming person that he sounds like he is and was. I really have to look up. Did he pass? You know what? Hold on. I'm just gonna make sure what tense I need to be speaking of this man in. Be right back. Okay, so he is not dead. He probably wishes he was because he's in prison, and but that's what happens when you do a crime and you get caught. At least that's what's supposed to happen. We got another handsy perv out there who has so far and is so far sort of evading, if not conviction, incarceration. So yeah, but okay, I'm not done with this. I will be momentarily, and the sooner the better, because it's really not great fun to talk about. But Harvey Weinstein's attachment to what he once was, apparently, or I'm again speculating, and what he would like things to be that aren't in reality, that's a bad one. And like I said, that's mixed up in, I would imagine, all kinds of his personality, like deeply, intricately woven. So hard to extricate himself from and probably get a good look at, like, hey man, it's me, what are we doing? One last component, and I'm going to go back to Megyn Kelly when she was talking about the people that were not involved. They come and run in to stick up for someone else being accused of doing something offensive to someone else and unlawful and disrespectful and all of that stuff. And it's Russell Brand. And so someone opining and commentating on the subject, because what the subject is that people are coming forward and saying that he was too touchy and handsy inappropriately and forcing himself on people, and there was an actual rape. But I believe, again, this woman, I think that someone did not go to the police, and that goes back to that situation where you're supposed to, like, drop your ambitions and not, like, follow your own career path pursuit because someone is being icky at work, like that John Eastman standing by just leering and not intervening on her behalf. That's how it usually is. That's how it happens. Like, all that sensitivity training and stuff, you think that I don't know. I haven't worked in a place where they actually do that, but I have my suspicions about how well does it work. Like, how well do the people adhere to what they learn? And I'm feeling like, I don't know. So forget that. But, you know, he would have had women in positions subordinate to him, and sounds like he took advantage of it, and he's calling it his promiscuity. And he wrote that book, that biography, and he talks about his promiscuity. And he has, over the years that I have watched him be interviewed, when he was still doing the actor-comedian thing instead of whatever he's doing now. I shouldn't say that, because I'm doing whatever he does. But, the Megyn Kelly thing, I would hope that she takes the next step to realize these guys that keep getting accused of this, it's because the reason why it keeps happening is because there's a culture that allows it to happen. There is a culture of people that want to continue to have this dynamic with women, and I think especially now that more of the Me Too stuff is coming out and more women are becoming braver and calling these people to task, like making them, take responsibility, like Bill Cosby. Like a legal technicality is why he's out on the streets, not because he's innocent of what he had done. So, and yet there's another one of those examples. So, it's when this happens, there's always a huge backlash against the woman and women in general. It's a turbulent sea, and it's gross, but it just keeps happening. So obviously we're not getting something, or we are getting it, and we need to figure out how to like deal with it in a productive, helpful way for the people that are injured by these people's actions. And then again, this is part of the whole tapestry of life. Like, this is all happening for a reason, and not just what I said so that we can all see it and then react to it, or respond is better than react, in a helpful way for sufferers. And then I think the larger task might be, how do we reach the people that have a tendency to do this and get them to understand, like, it's not right. No one that it happens to really wants you doing that to them. In the unfair balance of power moments, where this is what kills me, is that grown adults will say, oh, well, I've never seen that happen, I don't believe it. It's like, oh my God, are you two? You can't put together that. Do they abusers come out and say, I am about to abuse a child or a woman sexually, or beat the crap out of them? Okay, everyone, be back in an hour. No, that's not the way it works. They're sneaking around. They're doing it when no one's looking, because it's cowardly, and it's exerting power physically over someone whose power otherwise you can't resist and are overpowered by. So there's a power dynamic to think of. Okay, I think I've said all I want to say about that. Thank you and good night.